So last time I left you with a cliffhanger. I said we're going to focus on trivial studies. What's the trivium? In aggregate, it's fields that apply to the cultivation of the self. Working on making a better student who will then study the universe. Okay, but what is it? It's logic, grammar, and rhetoric. Okay, a little more specific, but still that's words defined in terms of other words that we still don't know. So, what are those three things? Well, they are skills of cognition and communication. Logic is the art of clear thinking. Putting simple ideas together, simple observations, statements together in ways that work. Not mashing them together in ways that don't work. Deciding which ways different statements can and can't go together. There's a lot there. That takes a lot of study. We'll touch on it. There's a lot there. But at least we know what the field is. Logic is about putting simple ideas, statements, and observations together in ways that work and not in ways that don't work. The art of clear thinking. But humans are social animals. Civilization progresses a lot better if we work together. And we're not telepathic. So, clear thinking in your own head will only get you so far. You need to be able to express those thoughts. Grammar and rhetoric apply to expressing and communicating the fruits of logic, thoughts. Let's pretend, grammar is really just the logic of language. If we didn't have grammar, it would be very, very difficult to express clear logic in an unambiguous manner where people actually know exactly what you're trying to say and don't have to guess and check a bunch of times. Like, there are smart dogs, and the dog's barking. It's trying to tell you something. It knows something. It might even have the logic down. It's saying someone's coming. It knows something. You know it knows something. But there's only a few things the dog can say. It can, like, bark, whimper, growl. It only has, like, 3 or 4 different words. The dog doesn't have much grammar. And so communication with the dog, man, it's just hard. Alternatively, let's say we were trying to operate in pure logic. Let's say we as smart human beings tried to communicate in the language of formal logic or math or a computer programming language. Could we do it? Sort of. Logic has a lot of connector words, a lot of function words, prepositions, comparatives, conjunctions. What it doesn't have, though, are a lot of content words, nouns, verbs, adjectives, things that we use to describe things in the world. It has the arrows between things, but not really the things you point at. So human languages are full of content words, which pure logic lacks. So to really communicate anything, you need logic, but you also need to go beyond it to have all the content words of human language and the verbal logic grammar with which to represent logic clearly in a way that someone else can follow and reproduce it on their own without a lot of trial and error. Okay, so then what's rhetoric? Just because you know how to say something doesn't answer the questions of whether you should say it, in what manner you should say it, because you could say it a few different ways, when you should say it, who should you say it to? Should you tell this person first or this person? A lot of questions remain, even if your logic is good and you've got your grammatical sentence. A lot of questions of delivery and social questions remain. That's what rhetoric is about. In modern English, rhetoric has negative connotations because devious people tend to abuse rhetoric to deceive. But technically, rhetoric, especially in the classical sense, is just the art of how to communicate beyond the mechanical levels of logic and grammar. The study of those three things, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, are what make up the trivium. And I think it is anything but trivial. Okay, so welcome to a course in the trivium. Actually, we're going to have a sequence. We're going to start with logic, and we're actually going to spend a lot of time on logic. As far as English grammar, you guys get that in a lot of other courses too. We will be using English grammar in precise ways, but we're not really going to make it our focus of study so much. That would be the course called English Grammar. And rhetoric would basically be a bunch of stylistic tricks if we don't really leave it for the end and approach it with a foundation of logic. So some rhetoric at the end, a little grammar throughout, and mostly a focus on logic. Hope you enjoy this roadmap. And hope you enjoy the rest of the semester.